My name is Stephen Powley. I'm head teacher of Withycombe COE Primary School down in Exmouth. We're a very large primary school, about 530 children, and our school is a church school. Well, as a successful school, one of the issues for us is supporting the need for a greater number of spaces in the area, and we have taken additional children. We've got to the stage now where to expand further we needed some building work, and certainly we have on site a number of older buildings that have been here some time and become almost redundant. Certainly in terms of where the school sits, that is a critical question that's really at the base of what's important to us. We run schools with an outcome that we have outstanding or excellent learning and achievement, and in order to do that we need to be using these spaces the right way for us. A very inclusive school, so the need for additional spaces and how that will work in terms of dynamics, the size and the light and the arealness of classrooms, for instance, and also the noise levels are really important, and we've managed, through this to be able to sit down and talk about some of those needs with our design team, and they have listened, and we've ended up with a building that's purpose built for us to do those things. We utilise part of it in terms of extension community use, so after schools and during school time we are using parts of those buildings to ensure that we have good links with our community, but also provide a resource, rather like a learning hub. So we use it not just for parents, but also with our strategic partners in terms of training and functions that happen after school. And it's proving to be a very successful building, not just for classroom bases and learning during the daytime. Well, first of all, we've been delighted with the outcomes for a school of this size, and trying to maintain excellence in learning and teaching in our school is critical to us. So managing the project in terms of what happens on a day-to-day basis, and also being very much part of those early initiatives in terms of design teams and what we actually needed, was critical to us. We had a very good relationship. It is critical to us early on in the build and the design process that we were part of that, and we felt very much working with the local authority, with our approved partner through the local authority MPS, that we sat down around a table to look specifically at what the school required and needed. We've been extremely well supported by our local authority, and that's been the consistent that's taken place. And for us, within education, of course, that's a critical part of ensuring that it's delivered. Obviously, projects are all part of a dynamic process, and certainly there are points along the way where you feel actually there's a great number of successes around this. For us, I think at ground level with all my staff and the children in the school, was actually just about making and managing the project so that it worked for us and we were enabled to be able to carry through the project. Some of the markers for us were obviously seeing the building going up and being part of that process of encouraging our community and children to be part of what it's going to look like. That was an exciting time for us. When we had handover and it was ours, being able to utilise and see and use those spaces that we sat around with the design team looking at has been great. Critical things for us is about those classroom spaces in terms of how they function, how they work for us, and to deliver the best learning that we can for our school and with our children, and increase those opportunities. And what I will say is that the spaces that we've got, including breakout rooms and how that works functionality wise, has been a great success for us. They're very good classroom spaces, they're light, they're certainly functionable, and it allows us, it does make a difference to the learning that happens in our school. Well, again, to build a framework in terms of a building, for us to have classrooms like this, it was very important that the building was going to be up to success for the future. And actually, I think we've achieved an incredible value for money over this framework, and has delivered what we need as classrooms and learning rooms for the school. So I was pleasantly surprised that we were able to have this building built here, and we're enjoying the benefits of that. Community-wise, we obviously involve our community regularly in our day-to-day activities at school. Partly with our building work is informing our parents and community about what's going on as we go through the build. And communication is always one of those areas that schools try to improve. We did work closely at ground level with the site managers from our construction company. For instance, health and safety was a critical part of this, so they came and worked with us during assembly times. They came and worked with us in terms of having a competition to see how much they remembered. And again, we have a very large environmental area at our school, and they utilise some of their materials to produce an insect house, which again drew the children into the fact they're part of this whole project and making it succeed. And again, parents and community play a role in this, because their ways into schools and the changes they had to make while the buildings are being built are quite challenging at times. So it has to be something we do all together, and it's a critical part of us being successful in this. Communication is the critical one. I do feel that as a head teacher, time and communication to be able to ensure that what that end product is going to look like and how it's going to be used. We have a huge advantage now, having been through this. And you asked a question earlier on about would I want to replicate that type of building, and the easy answer is yes. And we look at some of those processes to make it even better. But we, in terms of the project, in terms of where we are as an outcome, we've ended up with somewhere that's an excellent resource for the school, and it does drive our school in terms of being able to deliver excellent learning, and that's what we're here for. In terms of lessons being learned, one of the things that we prepare ourselves for lots of things in engaging quite a short space of time in terms of a build project, but quite a significant building, and certainly that arena is spread out in terms of the ergonomics and how we deal with change of spaces, like our hall, where we serve several hundred children with lunch each day, and we haven't got a hall. So some of those lessons that I would say we learn from this is that it is critical that we maintain a balance with the people we work with, whether that's the construction companies or the build project engineers, etc., etc.